What is going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadski, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video, another tier list video. You guys absolutely love the tier list videos. I know you guys love it, and today we're going to be talking about ships. It looks like my last video of this topic was like a year ago, so I think this is a pretty good time to give you guys a bit of an update in regards to this, especially because, you know, it's the New Year celebration. A lot of people will come back to the game. We've got the global anniversary coming in late February as well, so I feel like this is a good time to give you guys a video such as this. So this does not include every ship in the game, because there are some ships that are like limited time that we only got through a certain period. The ships that you see here are ships that you can purchase from the Rayleigh Bazaar, from all the shops in the game, from the unlockable quests. You can get them from clearing the training forest and stuff. And what I'm going to be doing in this video is not only just ranking them, but like, you know, giving you guys the breakdown in terms of like when they're fully upgraded, because some of these ships, they're not really that good. When they do get upgraded, they do become quite powerful. So do keep that in mind, that I will be ranking them in regards to like when they're fully upgraded, and that definitely will, you know, change things up. Because if a ship is like just generic level 10, and you compare it to its level 12 with modifications, it's night and day difference. A lot of these ships are actually very usable, but there are some ships that are better than others. So let's jump into this one. I'm going to have my game up on the side here so I can actually, you know, have all the details for you guys. So the first one here is going to be the dinghy. When this is like the first ship that you start with the game. However, when you have it fully upgraded, this is one of the best ships in the game, which is crazy to think about. The good thing about it is it gives you -2 turns of cooldown at the start of the quest. Like, that's already like a great update. And then it's just generically good. It boosts everyone's attack by a pretty good multiplier. It has a special ability as well that can change all of your slots into matching. So there's really nothing bad about this ship at all. This is legit one of the best ships in the game, and most of the time people will use ships to give them cooldown reduction so they can speed through content faster. This is one of those ships to enable you to do that. I don't personally have the ship level 12 max yet, but this is one I would love to get max. But the thing is we already have other ships that kind of do similar things. The next one is the Merry. Now the Merry is actually a good ship. I have this one completely maxed out. I would say that this is a great ship. It is, again, just a rainbow boosting ship. One of the good things about it is it removes 1 turn of Bind and Despair when you have it completely maxed out. So just having a generic ability to remove 1 turn of Bind and Despair whenever you're inflicted with it is fantastic. It does also have a special ability that removes a further 1 turn of Bind and Despair. I'm not going to say it's an always used tier, because I do use it, but not that often. You know, if there's content where there's like 1 or 2 additional turns of Bind and Despair that you have to get around, just chucking this ship on is really good, because sometimes the characters on your crew, you need certain supports for other things. So if you need to get around Bind and Despair, this is a good way to do that. The next one is the Navy ship. This one honestly isn't that great. It does have some pretty interesting abilities though. It does have the ability to remove 1 turn of paralysis. It does give a really big HP boost. It does give her a higher chance of landing matching slots. But the thing is it is a shooter and a fighter focused ship. It does have a special that can extend the duration of your end of turn healing, which is actually good for those fighter teams. But in my opinion, it's just niche. You don't really need to upgrade this ship, in my opinion. You can completely avoid this one. The same with the Baratier. The Baratier is a very strange one, where it has a unique effect where any tandem slot on your crew is automatically transformed into a assembler slot. So that is a very unique mechanic. But of course, tandem, that's a very important slot, because if you don't have tandem slots, you can't activate super tandem. Of course, this is good with like the Katakuri Big Mom character that came out near the end of 2024 that allows you to perform super tandem with assembler slot. So there are scenarios where this is good, but those scenarios are few and far between. So I wouldn't really suggest this one. I think that the Mihawk ship is another one. This is one that is mainly buffing the slasher class, and if you're not running a full slasher team, there's no point in using this ship. But it's not a bad ship. I don't want to say that it's a bad ship, it's just that it's too niche. You know, you need to use it with a full slasher team. The Miss Love Duck is the one that just recently got a ship update, which gives you damage threshold, which is pretty good. The thing about it though is that it is a striker focused ship. I'm not going to say it's a bad ship, because there aren't that many bad ships in the game, but again, it's a little niche for my liking. We've got the Going Merry flying model. This is an interesting one. It does give you a lot of end of turn healing, 5,000 HP at the end of every turn. It does remove Despair by 2 turns, which is quite good. And then it does give a 1.7 times attack boost to all characters. Pretty strong. And it also removes Despair via the special ability that it has too. I actually think this is a pretty good ship. Again, it's very similar to the regular Going Merry, except that instead of removing, you know, Bind and Despair, that extra bind is just added to the despair instead. So it's very similar to the Going Merry, but it's just slightly different. It's a pretty good ship, all things considered. Moby Dick, I think, is a fine ship. It's pretty close to being great. I mean, I guess it kind of is a great ship. The thing about it is that it's a very unique ship in how it works. It gives you a lot of HP. It is a rainbow ship, but you start the quest with half health. So that can be both a positive and a negative, depending on the content at hand and depending on what team you're running. If you have a team that requires you to be at low HP thresholds, or the enemy puts you at low HP thresholds with mechanics, this ship is fantastic for that, because the ship gives you like lots of damage when you are below 30% HP, and it recently got an update where it now has a special that can grant you HP guard. So I think all of those mechanics in mind are very good, but I don't use this ship that much. But I guess, you know, recently with a lot of low HP characters and like the 6+ of Crocodile, who wants to be at 50% HP to trigger that EX super, this ship is fantastic for that type of character. The next one here is the buggy ship. This is one of the bad ships. You can pretty much skip this ship for now. This is a pretty bad one. The next one is the Bezin Black, which is a quick focused ship. The thing is it does have some unique mechanics, but I think it's a little niche. It's pretty decent. It has a color affinity special, which is pretty good. It can remove burn duration, which is kind of neat. But honestly, you can kind of skip this one. Same with the Aokiji bike. You don't really need to worry about this one, because a lot of the times these ships that are focused around boosting all characters, like they're just better than all of these. I mean, I could put the Ace ship in here as well. Like no one really cares about that. The next one here though is the Thousand Sunny. So the Thousand Sunny is a rainbow focused ship as well, and it does have some utility. It does remove bind and attack down with its base level 12 ability, which is quite good. Level 12, should I say, with modifications. It does have a special ability as well that can reduce defense up, and it can provide an attack boost, and it can do AoE damage. I would say this is very close to being always used. I'm going to put it at the top of the great tier. I think this is a very, very good ship, and it is one that you should keep in the back of your mind, because having a ship special that can do AoE damage, that can give you an attack boost, all of these things in mind are quite good. Honestly, I kind of want to put it in always used tier. This ship is really freaking good. And I mean, there's going to be another ship that we'll talk about later on that is very similar in terms of utility wise of what this ship does. Thousand Sunny is actually quite a good ship. Next is going to be the Dreadnought Saber. This is a really hard one to rank, because this ship has actually seen quite a lot of play. Like, this ship sees more play than all of these, but it's not that good of a ship. It's only because it has such a unique mechanic in that it does damage at the end of every turn. It does 20,000 damage at the end of every turn. So what this allows you to do is this ship allows you to get around resilience buffs. And honestly, it's so unique in what it does. I kind of want to put it in this tier anyway. It does allow you to get some type of buff to Driven and Powerhouse, but this is the ship with like one of the lowest attack boosts in the game, because they offset it with having such a unique effect with end of turn damage. And there's another ship actually that does it as well that has a really bad drawback that we'll talk about a little bit later. The Boa Hancock ship is focused on free spirit. It does have a little bit of utility as well, but most of the time these other ships are just better to use. The NL ship, I guess, is also kind of in this realm as well. This is another ship that can do some damage for you with a special ability. The special ability is 10 turn cooldown. It does remove damage threshold as well, which is kind of neat, but it does only boost quick and psi units, so that's the real downside there. The Shank ship is pretty. They really should have done a lot more with this. It does have a special that can give you attack down removal, which is kind of neat. It does have some interesting buffs where if you have an attack boost when you launch the special of the ship, it will further increase that attack buff, but otherwise it'll still give you an attack boost. So that's kind of cool, I suppose, but again, it's niche. Like, you just rather use these rainbow ships, right? We keep saying the same thing. The Jinbei ship is focused on buffing fighter characters. Same thing there. This gives a pretty large bump to your HP as well, so do keep that in mind if you want to run a fighter team. Doflamingo ship for Driven, it is what it is. The Powerhouse ship, this one here, the Rocket Man, this ship is actually pretty decent. This saw a lot of play back in the day, but because those like zombie-ish teams don't really exist anymore for content, this ship is just a niche ship that's just kind of fine. The Garp ship's actually pretty terrible now that I think about it. Did they add any utility recently to this? It is a strength and psi focused ship. It does have the ability to extend chain multiplier boosts, which is like whatever. It does have a special ability that can give you the chain buff. Like, this ship's not really that good. It's better than the buggy ship, but it's definitely worse than the rest of these ships here, unfortunately. Law's ship is pretty good, you know, slasher and free spirit focus, so I'd say this is a little bit better. Did they add any more recent modifications to this? It gives cooldown reduction. It does have a special ability that gives you some healing and some base attack boost, which is kind of nice. It does remove paralysis. There's a lot of cool uses for this, and the fact that it buffs 2 separate classes is definitely a massive benefit. Buffing classes is definitely a bigger benefit than buffing colors, for ship-wise, that is. This one right here really shouldn't be here. This one is kind of like one of those special edition ships. Do not worry about this one. Next is going to be the Coated Sunny. Coated Sunny is actually very good. This does a very similar thing to like this, where, you know, bind and despair removal with this, and then this is like focused on mainly despair removal. This one is focused on like mainly bind removal. So this is a good one. It does boost all characters, and it has a really good special ability that allows you to tank 90% damage for 1 turn, and then also it will launch an attack boost focused on that damage reduction as well, so giving you a very unique buff. I think that this is probably the best of these ships here thus far. This is where I'd probably put it. I think that this 1000 Sunny is a little bit better because attack down removal is a lot more rare, but this is still really good with what it does, providing a really unique buff, provides utility. It's a rainbow boost. No real issues with this ship at all. Next is going to be the Kizaru's Cannonball. This, unfortunately, is a shooter-focused ship, so it doesn't really help out that much. This ship is very, very strange. It gives you a lot of cooldown reduction, which is kind of cool. The ship special isn't that great either. I'd say this is a very niche ship. You don't really need to worry about this one. Bato's ship is focused on strikers, so yeah, another one that you can kind of ignore, I think. This one here, the Moria ship, the Thriller Bark, it gives buffs to Dex and Int characters, which is, I guess, kind of cool, but the ship just isn't that great, so I'd say don't worry about this one. Now, the Flying Dutchman is an interesting one. This one did actually see quite a lot of play back in the day, mainly because of its special ability that would actually reduce enemies' defense. And having that in a ship special is pretty unique. With recent buffs, it actually will reduce defense and give you a defense down conditional boost. It gives you extra EXP. So I'd say this is a fine ship. It is generic, it has unique abilities, so I feel like it is better than these niche ships, but at the same time, there are ships that are way better than it. So this is definitely a low priority compared to the rest here on this list, but do keep that in mind. Next is going to be the Teach ship, Marshall D. Teach's ship. This is actually a pretty good one, another generic one. This can give you a very, very big power spike with how strong it can actually be. It does remove bind duration, which is quite good. It gives you a little bit of cooldown reduction. It gives you 2 turns of cooldown reduction, which is quite good. But the only real issue here is that it is a little restrictive. You need to have a fighter / a shooter and a striker in order to get the ship actually activated. But if you do have all that activated, then it's quite good, especially if you're running this ship with a focus on driven and powerhouse units. You actually can get a very, very serious power jump, but of course it's very, very restrictive. The Revolutionary Army Blackbirds is a ship where you need strength, dex, and quick characters in order to trigger the ship's abilities, and it gives you some cooldown reduction, can reduce switchability cooldown. It's fine. I would say it's more niche. It's a pretty good ship. A lot of people have upgraded this one because of Super Boss Kizuna, because the multiplier that the ship can give you is quite good. But again, I'd probably say you could avoid this one. Zunisha, without the mods, or before the modifications were in the game, this was one of the best ships in the game, and it still is quite good. The cool thing about this ship is that it is buffing cerebral and powerhouse units. It gives you some cooldown reduction at the start of the quest, and another thing is it does reduce special bind duration by a turn, and it does have a special ability that can do damage. It can remove Rainbow Shield. This is a really, really good ship. And it makes it recover in tandem slots matching as well. How could you forget that? It makes perfects extremely easy to hit. It's a good ship for sure, but again, only really working if you're running a full cerebral team or a powerhouse team. At that point, then it's good. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to the content at hand, because a lot of the times, even though the ship is really good and you may be running a full cerebral or a powerhouse team, sometimes the generic ships are still even better, honestly, which is kind of crazy to say. So the next one is the Foxy ship. This is one that can give you some additional berries and EXP. It does have a special ability, actually, that will delay all enemies for 1 turn, ignoring immunity. That's actually pretty interesting. That's actually really, really cool. Makes it easier to land perfects. It does reduce cooldown by 1 turn at the start of the fight. What's the ship's special? The ship gives you an attack boost of 1.5, so it's a low attack boost, but it's actually pretty good. I would say this is actually a great ship if you do have it fully upgraded. But again, there's way many more ships I would highly advise to buff before that. The next one here is the Capone ship. This one right here. This one is absolutely terrible. I would say this is one of those bad level ships because you need to run a full team of... you need to have a team that does not have any slasher, free spirit, or powerhouse units. Now, if you actually try building a team without slasher, free spirit, or powerhouse, you'll realize very quickly that is not easy to do. So that's the real downside here, is that the ship itself is pretty good. It has attack down removal, it has some cooldown reduction, and it does do end of turn damage, very similar to the Dreadnought, but you lose attack and HP based on how many slasher, free spirit, and powerhouses are on your squad. So be very careful with this one. It has the potential to be good, but it's very hard to make work. The Big Mama Chancer recently got a buff. I think this ship is actually like a fine ship. I think it's better than a lot of these ships because it's easy to use, because it just straight up just buffs strength, dex, and quick units. And then it does give additional buffs to powerhouse and driven, or if you have a driven or powerhouse lead, then you get additional bonuses. And then the special ability to give it's more than half of your team a guaranteed Semler slot is pretty good. So there's cool uses for this ship 100%. The next one here is going to be the Germa 66. Germa 66 is one of the best ships in the game. If you have a full team of like one of every color, if you're able to build your team with one of every type, and then you're running that in in a high damage sense, this is one of the best ships to do, especially if you again are focusing on recovery and tandem slots, because it gives it's like a 1.8 attack boost, and then if you have a recovery or a tandem slot, then you get a further 1.1 bonus. But all of these are subject to the fact you need to have one of every color on the team. It also gives 2 turns of cooldown reduction, I think, or it's 1 turn of cooldown reduction, and then it also gives you special reverse resistance. There's a lot of cool stuff with Germa 66, but you need to have one of every type, which is not going to happen all the time, so do keep that in mind. The Host ship. Host ship is probably one of the top 2 best ships in the game. This ship is godly, so I guess I'll kind of talk about it now because the Whale Shark is the other one. These are the 2 best ships in the game because they can use them generically with whatever you want. They do have some slight differences, right? So the Host ship gives you more EXP. They both actually give you EXP. They both give you 2 turns of cooldown reduction. They are both rainbow ships. You can use them with whatever characters you want. But there are some slight differences where this ship, the Whale Shark, will make tandem slots matching, and it gives you 1 turn of paralysis removal. And the attack boost from this ship is stronger, whereas Host ship is a little weaker, slightly lower attack boost, but it gives you the ability to get a lot of end of turn healing. I think you get an additional 2,000 healing at the end of every turn. So with your auto heal sockets, you're healing 3,000 every single turn. But be careful, because if you're up against content where they turn your healing into damage instead, the Host ship can be really, really bad for you. They both have a special, I believe. Well, I know the Host ship does. The Host ship special will give you a 2 times orb boost for 2 turns and gives you more end of turn healing. And then the Whale Shark, in comparison to that, does not have a ship special. At least not yet, but it may. So there are some slight differences. This has like an orb boost special that you can get. But as I said, both of these ships are like the best in the game. This one has the paralysis removal, which is, most people use this because of that, and then this has more damage, so do keep that in mind. But both of these ships are like by far and away the best in the game, and these are the ones that you should be focusing in on. These are the ones you should upgrade first on your account before anything, in my personal opinion, because they're going to help you get through content easier. They are just the best generic ships to use compared to everything else. The Megalo ship's actually good too. Do not sleep on this one. I think this is actually a great ship. If I were to rank it though, I would say it's probably in this tier. I used to use this ship a lot for the main reason of its special, which would allow you to lock slots for 1 turn. However, they have updated this now, where it not only does that, but it also will remove slot bind duration by 2 turns. It will change your block slots into rainbow slots, and then the slot lock is actually for 2 turns instead of 1 turn. The good thing about this is that it is a Psi and Int focused ship. It's just straight up just good. Like this is a great ship to have, no doubt. Very, very good. Is it worth upgrading to level 12 with modifications? Probably not, compared to the ones that we have here, though. The Ace of Spadil, which is the ace ship, gives a lot of cooldown reduction, gives despair removal, and then if you're at low HP, you get a, so when you use the special of the ship at low HP, you remove 3 turns of burn, which I actually didn't even realize that was the case, and then also gives ignited conditional boost by 2.25. So it is more focused around ace and the ignite stuff. I think the ship is fine, but if I'm going to be running a ship at low HP, this is definitely the ship I would be running, the Moby Dick. The Koi ship, this one is a very, very mid ship. It is focused on buffing quick and int characters. The problem with it, though, is that it just doesn't do that much. It does make recovery matching. It gives a bit of healing. The special ability gives a chain boost and a heal. It's just like, it just doesn't do much. It's just a little bit of damage, a little bit of healing. Whereas, like, the other ones have, like, a ton of cooldown. They give you... The generic base end of turn healing from this is obviously very good. And the EXP that you get from this is absurdly strong. So... I just think that this is a very underpowered ship, and the fact that it is focused only on quick and int really hurts it. Grudge Dolph, which is Hawken's ship, this one gives you more matching slots, reduces special bind duration by 1 turn, so do keep that in mind. It recently got a buff to its special, I do believe, so now it gives a 1.75 times attack and or boost to Slasher, Striker, and Cerebral, with a special, man. That's pretty good. And then it does give you, as I said, the 1 turn of special bind removal. This ship's really good. If you are focused on buffing, you know, if you are using Striker, Slasher, or Cerebral, this is a pretty good ship to use. This one right here, the Shark Superb. This one sees a ton of play. Shark Superb is one of the better ships in the game. The way that this ship works is that when you start the adventure, it gives you like a ton of damage, like 2 times attack ship, which is fantastic. And then every turn that passes, the attack multiplier of the ship will slowly decrease. So if you are in very short form content, like for example Kizuna Clash, where there's only 3 stages, this ship is amazing. There is obviously a downside though, where your captain must be strength, dex, or quick. And if they're not, then you don't get the buff. But if you have a strength, dex, or quick captain, this ship is amazing and can work in very good short form content. So definitely one of the better ships in the game for just pure damage sense. The Kid ship it's fine. It has some actual uses for sure. It does have a unique special ability to remove barriers and stuff. It does remove despair with recent buffs as well, which is kind of neat. Liberal Hind, this ship is also quite good. It saw way more play when it first came out, but as things have gone on, the other generic ships are just much better now. This is a ship that does allow you to remove 1 turn of bind, which is quite good, and then you need to have a free spirit, a slasher, or a cerebral captain in order to get like the bonuses from the ship. So sometimes it might not be might not actually work. And then the special ability is very unique, but it will reduce the cooldown of all Psi characters by 1 turn. So that could be good if you're dealing with special reverse and you're running a predominantly Psi team. You can use this ship special just to give cooldown to those Psi units. So it might be kind of good, but again, it's a little bit of a niche one. The V2 Capone ship, the Nostra Castello, this one is a lot better than the first one. It does give you some damage reduction, end of turn healing and stuff. Again, it's fine. It's not terrible. It's just a little bit mid, honestly. It's definitely better than some of the other ones here. It probably is straight up mid, honestly. It's pretty bad. It's not great. There's so many other ships you would rather use over it. It just really depends on your team comp. Next is going to be the Roger ship, Aura Jackson. Aura Jackson is a great ship. I don't feel, then again, it did recently get a buff, which made it even better. I wouldn't say it's always used, though. It is very good, though. The good thing about it is it gives some cooldown. It's buffing mainly Free Spirit and Slasher, so if you're not running a Free Spirit or Slasher focused squad, you probably would avoid this one. The thing about it, though, is that the special ability of this ship is very powerful. The ability of it will remove 2 turns of bind and 2 turns of paralysis now, and it will give a 15% buff to the next final tap performed by a Slasher character or a Free Spirit character. So this this allows you to get quite a lot of additional damage. The multiplier of this ship is actually pretty good from memory as well. Yeah, 1.7 is quite good, and then it also boosts the attack of Psi and quick characters by a further 1.1, and also provides you with an additional 1000 healing at the end of the turn. So if you're running like Free Spirit Slasher units, and if you have some quick or Psi units, they get additional buffs from the ship. Great special ability, great damage, so not really too much to complain about there. This is quite a good ship. We're nearly at the end here. We've got a couple more to talk about. We have the Shiki Island ship. This ship is focused on buffing Dex, Int, and Quick units. Doesn't really have a lot going for it. It can remove 1 turn of Despair. It's just a little niche. You don't really need to worry about this one. We've got the Zephyr White Tiger ship. Gives you some cooldown reduction, removes 1 turn of Paralysis. The damage from the ship is quite good, going up to 1.9, which is very strong. But it is only boosting shooter characters. It does make Sign Int slots beneficial. Again, I just think it's a little too niche for it to really be warrant being used. And then we have the Catapult ship, which is Douglas Bullet's ship, giving some cooldown reduction. Actually, it provides 2 turns of cooldown reduction, which is quite good. It gives a fighter buff. It gives strength, dex, and int buff up to 1.75 times attack. And then your own captain, when this is your ship, your own captain in the top right position gets a further 1.25 times buff. So if your captain is the character that is going to be the heavy damage dealer of the team, then this ship could work in your favor. But I would say only advised when you are running predominantly fighter characters and predominantly strength, quick, and int characters. So in my opinion, I think this is a fine ship. This one does have potential. It doesn't really have a lot of utility going for it. It does have bind removal within the special ability, which I guess could be kind of good. But I think, realistically speaking, this ship is like one of the better damage dealing ships in the game. But there's a lot of hoops you have to jump through to make it work. And then the final ship of the game is the Grand Tesoro, which I think is one of the best ships in the game. This ship is one that, like you can see that some of these like icons were not in the actual files that I could find. So these are screenshots from my own game. I have this ship completely maxed out, and I do not regret it one bit. So the good thing about this ship is it's very similar to the Thousand Sunny in a way, where it removes bind and attack down by 1 turn, so that's very good. It has a very good attack boost up to 1.7. It gives cooldown reduction as well, so that's kind of cool. And then it also will give you 3 times berries earned. So if you need to get a lot of berries, this is the ship for you. And then it also says that if you have a full team of characters with one of every class on the crew, fighter, slasher, shooter, striker, free spirit, driven, cerebral, powerhouse, if you somehow can find a team that has one of every class on it, then whenever you activate a chain lock, you extend the duration of that by 1 turn. Mainly you're supposed to use it with Legend Tesoro, and there was a bug when this ship first came out where you didn't actually need to fulfill the class requirement, and anytime you activated a chain lock, it would automatically extend it. That was really good for this ship. I would still say this is still a good ship, mainly just because it's rainbow, gives you cooldown reduction, so faster clears, and it has the bind and attack down removal, very similar to this ship right here with the Thousand Sunny. So these two are very similar. I think Thousand Sunny probably is better because the ship special is really strong in this one, whereas the Grand Tesoro doesn't have a ship special, so there's that. But this is my opinion at the moment in terms of the best ships in Treasure Cruise. So I would highly advise what you should do is to max one of these first. I think this one is probably better because of the utility that it can provide. And then from there, you could really focus on whatever you want. Having this for the additional EXP, also very good to, you know, get through your account faster, level up faster, which requires more of those stamina meat refills. So I'd say this one is probably better in the early game, but as you get into the late game, this one is probably the one that you're going to be using more often because of the utility and the damage. This one is very good for Kizuna Clash. This is good for utility. This is like fine if you don't have these two, but everyone has this, of course, but I would highly advise just to get these ones before that. And then the rest is really down to your team compositions that you're running and the content that you're coming up against. But that's going to wrap it up for me. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. On that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.